There have been times in my years of ministry that I have encountered situations that have been quite difficult to handle emotionally. And I want to share one with you on this Day of All Saints. I received a call from a former parishioner while Nancy and I were still in Dallas, and the former parishioner's daughter had a tragic car accident. She had been killed. So she wanted to speak with me and eventually put together the funeral. So I drove to her home. I spent a normal, regular amount of time dealing with the grief and the loss and so on. And then she said that her dad, she and her husband were divorced, was coming in town the next day, so could I come back and put together the service at that time with the father's input? I said, absolutely. And so I came back the next day, and I sat there and we began to put things together. And as I'm leaving the condominium, their home, and I walk out the little pathway, I hear the door open behind me after I had closed it, and the father says, do you have a moment? And I said, sure, absolutely. So I stopped, and I said, what can I help you with? And he says, well, it is our belief that only 144,000 people will be saved because we're Jehovah's Witnesses. And I know that because my daughter did not believe that, she will never make it to heaven. Would you, in your right mind, keep your daughter out of heaven? Now, we don't have saints as children. I know I don't. Okay? There have been some trying moments where I think they were growing little horns instead of halos. But would I believe a denomination that says that because your daughter does not hop and skip the way we think she needs to hop and skip, that she will not make it to heaven? That's not for me to decide. That's not for a denomination to decide. That's not for a faith to decide. I was very troubled the rest of that day. And I made a decision, and that was that we would follow what the three of us had agreed as far as the funeral was concerned, and let the chips fall where they may. Now, the father did not create a problem or a situation at all during the funeral. Now, do you know where 144,000 come from? No. See, that's another problem. And that is when the Revised Common Lectionary does not give you the whole message. In Revelation today, that's where you find 144,000. But it comes right before what we read today. And what we read today comes in the middle of something, because it starts, after this I saw. After what? What was it that happened that makes you see this? And that was the message that only 144,000 at that time were chosen. I'm being very liberal with the wording. And then, after that, John says he saw a multitude that could not be counted. Could not be counted. They're in heaven. There are no calculators up there. You don't need them. God has made the decision that there are no borders. There are no boundaries. Those are the people He chose to be saved. And they're countless. You cannot count them. I cannot count them. Nobody can count them. And that's what John is trying to convey to us. 144,000, that does not hold water at all. It is the multitude that God has brought to His throne to be saved. And those are the people we remember today. We remember along with them those that I counted, but this is a very low number now. I looked at Butler's Lives of the Saints, which is several books, tomes, And he's not going to bother me at all, okay? After 6 babies and 10 grandchildren, don't worry. Not going to bother me at all. I counted those that Butler includes in his tomes, and I also looked at the old so-called lesser feasts and fasts. And there were 535 names mentioned. Now the old lesser feasts and fasts has been changed to holy women and holy men, and it's a big, thick book. And to be honest with you, I didn't have time to count them this week. Today we honor those in the books, and then others whose names we do not know, but they're part of that countless number. They're part of who you and I are due to our history with them. These people are not mentioned in chronicles of history, but they have impacted our lives. Who we are now, who we are in the future, and what we have taught our children. They have been aware of God's will, and they've shared that with us. Frederick Buechner, my favorite theologian, has several books out. And what I like about him, because it meets my mental power, is that it takes fancy theology and puts it in regular English, and that really helps me a lot. He has a daily devotional called Listening to Your Life. And that resonated when we talked about our Rector's Forum, that sometimes we need to move away from all the noise and listen to God. This is what he says for November the 1st. How do they live on, those giants of our childhood, and how well they manage to take even death in their stride, because although death can put an end to them right enough, it can never put an end to our relationship with Him. Wherever or however else they may have come to life since, it is beyond a doubt that they still live with us. Dead and gone though they may be, as we come to understand them in new ways, it is as though they come to understand us, and through them we come to understand ourselves in new ways too. Who are these people? How did they touch our lives? Each one of us is going to have a story to tell. Each one of us will be different. I can cite several people in my family. I can cite a priest that you all know because he was involved in this parish many, many years ago, Father Jack Russell. He will never be written up anywhere. Across the old Odger that he is. But he taught me some things that I still practice today. And I mentally and quietly give him the credit. These saints that we celebrate today are not going to save cities or get the Nobel Peace Prize. They're the ones that get little or no recognition. And as Buechner says in his rewrite of the Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the mourners, whether they lament the suffering of those who starve and undergo oppression, or lament the indifference and cruelty that allows such suffering to occur. Blessed are the meek, who really do love their neighbors as much as they love themselves, and who see that the needs and the dignity of others will be acknowledged and provided for. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, those who are righteous enough to go hungry rather than exploit such advantages as they may be given in life. Blessed are the merciful, who will forgive and even forget their sufferings sooner than they would enact retribution. Blessed are the pure in heart, those for whom the common good means more than personal opportunities for advancement. Blessed are they, everyday peacemakers, despite their achievements. Today we celebrate people who make peace on the scale that affects their lives, even though they know that only God and the unnamed people to whom they bring reconciliation will ever acknowledge that they are peacemakers. Yes, and blessed are the persecuted, whose endurance for the sake of trust manifests God's goodness. Few have even heard their names, but they are the beneficiaries of their dedicated lives. So who have been and who are the saints in your life? You got them. Think for a moment. Bring a picture into your mind. My paternal grandmother, a woman who suffered a lot. Suffered the loss of her husband, the loss of 2 sons. One is a pilot and the other one's a doctor. The doctor was my father. She lost everything, including her health, in her later years. And the biggest joy she had was in meeting her grandchildren, great-grandchildren, sorry. The 4 that we had and the one my brother had, those 4 boys and that 1 girl made her life a wonderful time to deal with the illness that took her life. But she taught me things. She taught me that complaining doesn't get you much of anything. That you count that God is present with you. God is always there. And when your hands are so arthritic that you can no longer play the violin, then you get records. Yeah, look, that's records are sort of those round things. A little hole in the middle. This is for the young people. And you listen to classical violin music. She taught me a lot. She's not in any book. She's not in any album. And her playing was simply for her own enjoyment, so there are no records of that. So today, we think of those people. We also think of those such as St. Francis, who recently has been attacked by those who want to discredit his sainthood. And I'll share with you that every so often, just to amuse myself, I will go in the backyard, and whether it's the family of fat blue jays that are in our trees, or those cunning, destructive squirrels that are eating my potted plants. I go out and talk to them, thinking that maybe just a little bit of St. Francis will come in and they'll talk back at me. They don't. But these are the people that we think of to emulate, people that we want to copy, because they've brought us examples of how to live a godly life. So today, that's what we do. Today we're also very blessed. And I would add one more piece to the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are those who give to others out of their plenteousness, who give their time, who give their talent, and who give their treasure, so that others will not suffer anymore, and so that the sun will never strike them again. That's who we are here. That's who Holy Trinity by the Lake is. You continue to share that, you continue to show that as you give your time, as you give your talent, as you share your treasure to those who have less than we do in this community, in this diocese, and throughout the world. So, those friends and teachers, mothers and brothers, even the ones that we didn't know very well, but we always wondered why God brought them into our lives. This is their day. It's a day to say thank you. And it's a day to remember how to be children of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.